All right, so another super crack SmackDown. I've been hearing that Road Dogg is kind of running the show. Seems like it. Don't know where Triple H is, but if that's the case for SmackDown moving forward, keep him away. I love Triple H, but if Road Dogg's doing the work here, I love it because this whole episode felt like, you know, the moving forward of basically just all of WWE. We had like the future is now kind of happening, and that was kind of a theme throughout the whole show. Kind of starting off with everything, we had Cody Rhodes kind of come out, big pop and everything, kind of addressing the Drew stuff that was happening the week before. We kind of get a little vignette talking about that stuff, and you know, in the middle of Drew kind of, or of Cody kind of addressing Drew, telling him he's half-assed, you know, he barely shows up, he's not here a lot, getting suspended, seems to not care about putting in the work to be that top guy, you know. And as he's saying all these things, we hear Oba Femi's music. I've seen a little bit of Oba Femi on NXT, and I already knew from minute zero that this dude was going to be a huge force on the main roster. But man, did he look amazing in this segment tonight with Cody. Comes marching, you know, doing his signature march. Ooh. Oba, you know, and the crowd's even getting into it, you know what I mean? Even, I bet you people who might have not known, I think this entrance here established his presence. Oba Femi has an insane physique already and a crazy awesome look, you know, that I think that WWE has been sorely lacking. I think, you know, I think having more prominent stars of melanin is huge, and this is just another W there. So Oba comes out looking like $1 million with that NXT title, you know, and then the promo he cuts on Cody was excellent, you know, referencing that he has respect for Cody. And out of the spirit of John Cena, who, you know, keep that reverence and respect, but understand that the future is now, and I'm here. You know, this isn't some distant thing that's going to happen to you in a couple of years. I am here, and I'm here to take your spot. And Obi was extremely confident. He had a great cadence. He didn't get wutted. Instead, Oba has his trademark oos kind of sound that happens during his promos. I love his, like, I don't know what type of, like, African, like, maybe, like, Caribbean, West, whatever accent that's supposed to be, right? Someone tell me, please, let me know, educate. But I kind of dig it, you know. Gives him that commander conqueror type of vibe. And man, he looked like $1 million against Cody, just kind of doing the stare off after kind of, you know, laming his claim, you know, and telling Cody to watch out and focus on me because I'm coming to take, you know, everything that you have, you know, I am the future, you know. Cody goes to walk off, you know, and reminds Oba, like, I am QB1. Like, you know, you're talking about hustle, loyalty, and respect. I beat hustle, loyalty, and respect for this belt right here, you know, the WWE title which he was holding. So you kind of have now the standoff and stare off between these two, you know, going down, both of them lifting their titles, you know, and I'm super excited for this match. I'm getting similar vibes to kind of Kevin Owens when he came up on the main roster and attacked John Cena. You know, I'm getting very similar vibes to that, and I do think, you know, it just seemed like Cody's kind of untouchable right now, even for Oba Femi, but I would really enjoy if we get just a surprise upset, just win from Oba Femi here. That kind of just launches him directly onto the main roster. We kind of should maybe have with Ricky Starks or Ricky Saints turning heel. Maybe he comes back and kind of cheats to get the belt back from Oba Femi, you know, and then like essentially this Cody feud soft launches him onto the main roster, you know, as another dominant force, because man, this dude, he's main roster ready already. You know, I mean, we saw a lot of people here on SmackDown tonight that I think are main roster ready, you know, to kind of move forward down the list. We eventually got Lash Legend versus Alexa in a match, and holy crap, Lash dominated. And she had a really good showing during that War Games when she was kind of going toe-to-toe with Rhea, so I'm looking forward to kind of that matchup eventually happening. But you had Lash kind of destroy Alexa in almost a completely one-sided match, you know, and even Cole, you know, was making note of it, and Corey, like, this was a 5-time women's world champion that Lash just kind of beat and stunned the crowd into silence, you know. And Lash is $1 million. Her and Nia Jax as a team is just excellent. It gives Nia someone to work with so that she can kind of be more of a mouthpiece, because Nia is really good on the mic, and I think that's a super underrated aspect about Nia Jax, is that she's so good at playing into that heel and playing into the crowd and doing and delivering what she needs to deliver while doing that, you know. And I think, you know, Lash kind of learning off of Nia Jax how to do a lot of these things will really, I think, add to Lash's repertoire, you know, her being someone who can use her power and use her stature to really overpower people. I think her pairing with Nia Jax is just, it makes so much sense, you know. So it's super cool to see that the tag team division for the woman is moving forward like that, you know. And it seems like we might have Alexa and Charlotte kind of feud with those two, you know, and then the Kabuki Warriors in Rio to figure out who's going to vie for those tag titles. We even get more of that confirmation backstage where Rhea getting ready for her match with Damian Priest against Aleister Black and Zelina as the main event later tonight, talks to Charlotte and Alexa, kind of, you know, just to kind of seeing where the waters is and just letting them know, like, you know, that we're also going to be contending for those titles, so watch out. Super fun and interesting to see Lash Legend now destroy and dominate Alexa, and I kind of want to see what that means for her moving forward. Jade Cargill, you know, also had an amazing presence this episode. She was supposed to have a match with Michin where she essentially attacks Michin before she gets out. Before that though, after the segment, I should say after Charlotte and Alexa segment with Rhea, Rhea then has a stare off with Jade, who kind of finds her and eyes her down, and it seems like Jade has been looking for kind of, you know, worthy opponents for people for her to kind of face and flex that she's won this title on. You know, she's been sitting here kind of waiting for a real competition, you know, and that's what happens when she just attacks Michin. She comes out and says she needs real competition, and she has a real fierce fire to her, man. She's like, I'm that bitch. She tells Michin to, after putting her out or laying her out, to suck her dick and stuff like that. It got real nasty, but at the same time it was amazing. I thought the heat and fire Jade had here was something that she had in AEW, and now it seems like it's back. She has that chip on her shoulder where it's like, yeah, I have the top title, but like I need to flex this on people. I need to show everyone here that I mean it, that I'm not just holding the title because they're not going for it, you know. Like, I'm gonna go stare down Rhea Ripley because I need this challenge. I need some asses to beat. I kind of like that Michin, even in going down, she came out with the kendo stick and tried to bring it to Jade, you know. It was a fun segment. I think it was better than straight up having like a squash match, and it seems like there was a lot of thinking in that, and how to elevate not only Michin to make her seem like not a pushover, but also elevate Jade and, you know, get her moving on to something else, because she obviously wants to fight someone who has a greater stature, right? So I thought that was a great segment. I'm loving this Jade, you know, heel Jade is exactly what we needed in WWE, and her as the champion. It looks like $1 million because Jade looks like $1 million with or without a title. We had another US Open title match. Ilya kind of had a cool little promo right before it, kind of saying like to Tommaso Ciampa, his challenger. He's been making a mockery of the title, just kind of with his shenanigans and trying to get under the skin of Dragunov, so this jackass is going to pay, right? This match was awesome. Another banger from Ilya and Tommaso, because, you know, obviously Tommaso is an amazing, excellent wrestler, so you know these two were going to have an absolute fantastic match. Kind of a reminder of the NXT days a little bit. A lot of this US title run and this Ilya kind of vortex has been a lot of NXT kind of feuds being rehashed, which as a NXT fan from Black and Gold days, super fun to see and awesome to kind of have that context and history going into it. But the match was awesome. A lot of crazy knees, super physical. You know, Tommaso was really taking those chops super hard and bringing it right back to Ilya, you know, and with those strikes and stuff like that. Crazy false finishes. DIY tries to come and get involved. Candice LeRae pulls Ilya off the ropes, tries to distract him. Ilya is bleeding from the nose. Looks like he got like some sort of broken nose, or maybe just a busted nose, something like that. Makes the imagery of him fighting this 3-on-1 odds a lot more greater, in my opinion. The commentators call it too, you know, that he has color on him and it looks awesome. And while Ilya is able to sneak with the win because they try to cheat to win, after that DIY comes to attack Ilya, you know, after the fact of Ilya winning, escaping and surviving with a roll up. Who comes to the rescue? Mello. And Mello gets a huge pop from the audience, because I think especially after the last couple of weeks of him really proving himself and being extremely entertaining, and we seeing more of that NXT side of Mello, that independent Mello is money guy, you know, I think we're kind of seeing that evolution. You know, we've seen the fans kind of turn and accept and, you know, jump on this ride for what Mello is doing. And it was just a nice little quick segment to kind of show that Mello is still eyeing that US title, and maybe we'll be fighting Ilya again, maybe next week or the week after, you know, in a really good match, because I would love to see that again, you know, and maybe Mello even takes it this time. Looking forward to it. The US title scene has been probably the best thing on SmackDown ever since, Sami Zayn kind of took over and was running that US Open Challenge. So kudos for them for continuing that and making the mid card extremely fun and interesting. We then kind of had more stuff kind of promoting the MFT and Wyatt 6 feud that's going on. We had Uncle Howdy and all of them kind of in the ring, and he kind of gave a really like haunting promo of just basically kind of outing Solo for being the weasel that he is. We know that he's someone who just kind of wants his own success, and the MFTs, while they might be alleged family, they're not the real family, which Uncle Howdy mentions, the bloodline, right, that left him in the dust, so he's been trying to essentially cobble up a fake family, while as the Wyatt 6 is bound by blood and love, right? They're a real team, and while they have the tag titles, they are the ones that run SmackDown, right? Not the MFTs. MFTs then have a similar kind of Wyatt-esque promo from Solo's side, where Solo cuts kind of one essentially saying like a similar thing to where this is my family. We do run SmackDown, and to take another quote from Bray Wyatt, which Solo has been doing to tease Howdy a lot during this feud. He tells them, there's nothing to do and there's nowhere to go. All you can do is run. And then you hear Solo's music cut out, and it's cut out off the Titantron. So I'm super excited to see whenever they have this tag match. I don't know if it's going to happen at Saturday night's main event necessarily. They didn't seem to advertise it, but I think it might happen at the next PLE down the line, or maybe this SmackDown after Saturday night's main event. They might have it as like the main event, But super interesting. The WWE tag titles are, engaged in a super hot feud right now with two of the biggest probably factions right now. So super dope, and I'm glad that means we're seeing the titles on. We also had Javon Evans had speaking of kind of more of the future is now type of thing, how we had was Last Legend and Obafemi. We had Javon Evans on the show kind of promoting his tag match he's going to be having with Leon Slater against the team of AJ Lee, and just kind of talking and getting familiar with the audience. In the interview with Kathy Kelly, Miz kind of comes up and is annoyed that this man is taking the spotlight, and in kind of heel versus rookie fashion, we have Miz kind of gatekeeping and calling Javon kind of a nephew in response to Javon calling him Unc Miz, and I love Javon as someone from his generation. This, I know people are probably annoyed at his gimmick or character, but he's literally just himself, super kinetic, just energetic, and yeah, he uses our lingo, and I think WWE sees that and understands that Javon Evans is like the potential pathway to really connecting with the younger Gen Z audience that identified with like the ruthless aggression more, and a lot of those fans are like Javon Evans. So I think if they lean into that more, it would be really interesting, and it feels like I'm being spoke to in a way when I'm hearing Javon Evans speak and interact with everybody, because it's my lingo, it's the stuff that our generation is saying, so he feels like really someone from my era, and that is extremely refreshing to me, because it doesn't feel like he's scripted. It feels like everything he's saying is completely genuine, and all his reactions are completely genuine, which you don't get a lot from people that are 21, that young, and have that much wherewithal. Usually, like, even look at Austin Theory, a couple years older, he might have the more of the ring presence and skill maybe, but in terms of like, that main roster experience, but he's not as, I think, outgoing immediately as Javon Evans has already been in the little time he's been on SmackDown and Raw, right? And this match just showed that, extreme great fire. Him and Miz had great chemistry, great timing. Miz is one of the best of all time. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care how many flips people have to do. Miz knows his strengths and his weaknesses and places those completely perfectly and creates a great match, right? So awesome work between those two. Javon Evans gets the surprise roll up. Miz went in with the intention of injuring Javon Evans for that tag match. I think the story of his arm getting kind of a little bit banged up during that match will then play into the tag match that happens tonight at Saturday night's main event. We'll see kind of what happens with that, but completely fun segment. Cool to see the future is now Javon Evans. I would love to see more of him on SmackDown or Raw, please. Like, this SmackDown felt super fresh, we're focusing on moving forward, what's new, it really felt like this SmackDown was kind of an ode to Cena in the way that, hey, we are going to be focusing on what comes next. We understand, like, what your intentions are with everything. Despite it being a celebration of your finality, it's also what you want is us moving forward. To move towards the main event, we had, like I said, the Terror Twins versus Aleister Black and Zelina Vega after Black and Priest have been feuding essentially for the past month and a half. Zelina has been added to the fold to kind of make Aleister Black's character more intimidating and interesting, and I think it's worked. Unfortunately here though, it just seemed like it was kind of Rhea dominating Zelina a lot of the time. Some of their timing was kind of off, but I know both of them are extremely capable wrestlers, so it could have just been an off night or something like that. But just in general, fun match. Crowd was popping for Rhea coming out and having interaction with Zelina. Priest was kind of by osmosis getting a lot of great reactions too over there. And man, Aleister Black and Zelina, it's crazy to me because I assume there will be more after this anyway, despite this match and the result, but it does kind of feel like we're treading kind of that Bray Wyatt waters of mysterious, alluring promos, but they don't really go anywhere, and most of the time you're just feeding other talent. And I hope that's not the case for Aleister Black. I think he does kind of deserve some sort of kind of notoriety in terms of wins and significance. I think if you were to build a lot of that up, I think the character of him and Zelina would be more credible as a heel threat. You know what I mean? If they were able to maybe scourge up or cheat to get the title from Ilya or something like that, I think that would legitimize their presence. It wasn't a bad match, but it was an enjoyable main event. I always dig when they do unique things like a mixed tag or bring in unique situations like this. Super fun. You got Rhea to come on SmackDown essentially for a kind of a one-off when she's usually a Raw superstar, so super fun. The final time is now. We are now looking down the sunset of John Cena's career tonight on Saturday night's main event, so that should be fun. We had a really fun Raw and SmackDown kind of leading into it, so kind of hoping that and it does seem like the card's going to be awesome, and I think it will be. So I think we're going to get a really solid night of wrestling here today, Saturday on Saturday night's main event, and I think SmackDown just kind of exemplified, the future is now. It was just a great show, great pacing overall. I think Road Dogg, if this is Road Dogg producing the show and kind of laying everything out, I think we should be letting Road Dogg, we should be separating and delegating shows to people so that we can have a renewed focus on things instead of half-assing parts of shows and then full-assing the rest, right? I love that we're delegating things, and that means that there will be an attention to detail now in these SmackDown shows, which it felt extremely brisk. We just got segment after segment after segment, kept moving forward. Super good show. Looking forward to Saturday night's main event. Thank you, Cena, for everything, but Gunther's probably gonna make you go to sleep, and I love that, but we'll see what happens. The future is now. We got a nice little preview of the future that's coming in and what to look forward to in the years coming by. So I'm really excited to see what happens tonight. Let me know what you guys kind of thought of the SmackDown, and if you guys have any predictions for Saturday night's main event.